Hello, I'm Rock, and I am doing a history project on the Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, and it's basically covering the um, historical events Dan Brown included in his novel and sort of their relevancy. Um, I'm going to state some facts. This is sort of a blog, a little bit of my opinion, a little bit of what I'm supposed to be reporting in my history report. And so here we go. The Da Vinci Code follows two symbologists, Robert Langdon and Sophie Neveu, as they investigate a murder at the Louvre in Paris, and they discover a battle between the Priory of the Sion and Opus Dei over the possibility of Jesus Christ. You all know him, and whether or not he married and fathered a child with Although through most of the novel, Opus Dei was considered the antagonist group, and the Priory of the Sion was considered the protagonist. They sort of flip-flop roles at points, and Dan Brown definitely showed how neither group really was protagonist or antagonist. They both had their flaws and they both had their positives. Although Opus Dei definitely had more negatives and the Priory definitely had more. Opus Dei is a very religious sect that focuses on doing the work of God. Some members actually believe in remaining celibate, and even some believe in self-mortification. Also, most members of the church have shown discrimination towards women. So they're a very sort of narrow-minded sect, or that's how they're viewed on by most of the world. Even the church from time to time has tried to stick away from them, although some of the time they have been seen as actually doing the work of God and have been appreciative by the church, which has caused some controversy. In the novel, characters like the albino assassin Silas and Bishop Aringosa were tough and strong followers of Opus Dei. Throughout most of the novel, Dan Brown shows and creates them into antagonists, yet at the end of the novel they show true remorse of their past. He sort of puts the group into a controversial part of history, sort of showing cover up and sort of showing how the church from time to time has tried to cover up bad parts of their past and tries to keep. On the other hand, the Priory of the Sun was more the protagonist of the two sects. This is mostly because Dan Brown shows the past members of the organization is Sir Isaac Newton and Da Vinci, along with many others. And one of its key members in the book is Sophie's her grandfather, not her great grandfather. And he is murdered at the beginning of the story, which leads off a chain of events, which leads to the end of the story. And due to something he did with the organization, Sophie refused to talk to him up until his death, and that's how she met Professor Langdon. So, just even at the beginning of the story, Dan Brown ties in a lot of historical evidence in the beginning of the book, and then it just keeps going. At the end of it all, he really shows how the church in the past has really created a vibe where they have covered up a lot of things, or trying to cover up things, and at the end of the process, they actually have killed or hurt many people, and it's really actually worse to society. And worst of all, it's just a bad thing, and people are getting killed. But at the end of it all, they actually do feel some remorse, and he is trying to show that the church isn't all bad, but they do have its flaws just like any other person. At the end of it all, it was a great novel. I suggest anybody who hasn't read it to read it. And it really isn't antagonizing the church as much as everybody says. But it is to the point, so... at the end of it all, it was a great book.